Greetings. We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and we will always strive to bring you, all of you, the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about what the scriptures really say from the original ancient or very old sacred scribal old tongue or language, the Lishana Artika Sapraya of the original ancient very old Tab Esherit in regards to the Old Testament, and the original ancient very old Galilean Aramaic, Eashoa Mashika, Jesus the Messiah spoke, and what his disciples also spoke and recorded all the scriptures in. That's in regard to the New Testament, as well as the apostles who did the same. These are the hidden and therefore preserved original manuscripts of the original ancient, very old apostolic church of the East, founded by Thomas, etc., around 1st century AD. This video is a tribute to the translator, Victor N. Alexander, who we consider our mentor, our source, even though he is not officially our mentor. He doesn't know that, but that's what we term him as. A note to Victor N. Alexander, in this video we are going to talk exclusively about you, who we refer to with a passion as our mentor, as before mentioned. This video is wholly dedicated to him, or you, to him, who we had correspondence with, we had the pleasure to correspondence with via email over the last 2 years or more. We found you to be very honest, kind and patient when we bombarded you with questions, as we do, and to the point where we believe it's quite annoying. We know this for a fact. This is what we did in our search for the real truth. You were very patient and often had a little chuckle with us, as you once stated, quote, we've found some very unusual information about the Aramaic online, the Aramaic scriptures online, chuckle. We've posed here other comments on him, or actually posed him other comments made on him, and he had no resentment toward the often false assumptions of him and the Aramaic dialects he speaks, saying he doesn't speak it right, as I've attended a Bible college institution or university or a seminary, learned the Aramaic, therefore got a nice lovely certificate or a degree and can speak it better than him. A native born Aramaic speaking translator from Nahrein or Mesopotamia in Syria. Go figure that one out. A person who learned it at institution or university or whatever can speak it better than a native born fluent speaker of the dialect. Go figure. In his own words, he wasn't or isn't phased as he speaks the language. He's a translator, he speaks the language they don't, and they speak the common Syriac. So this video then is a tribute to him, who had the courage he has had in the face of adversity, the ridicule and ignorance of his film works, as he's a graduate from San Francisco Film Academy, USA, so he knows what he's talking about. He apparently went to different libraries, film studios, etc., when he did his history on his native land, Mesopotamia, and the winged bull icons, because Western churches, theologians, Christians, etc., saying they were demonic, when he states they weren't. After all, he knows the real history, okay? And they totally says, oh, it's a lot of rubbish. As you can see, Mr. Vic, you have a lot of fans down here. Okay, a little bit of history of your grandfather. Nimrod Alexander was a pioneer of modern cinema. He began making movies in 1909. The first actress he worked with was Louise Brooks, which happens to be SAG-AFTRA actress Liv Alexander's grandmother. That's Ian Alexander's wife. She's Norwegian. Very heavy accent. Sounds like a lovely lady though. Nimrod Alexander created the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. His career as a film producer was mostly promoting his fashions, jewellery and perfumes from NYC, New York City, USA, Hollywood to Paris. He created the Oscar Awards. He in fact stood on a stage and had a sculptor build the Oscar with clay on an amateur. Nimrod Alexander knew all the early movie stars such as Douglas Fairbanks Sr. and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. He knew Mary Pickford. Nimrod's father was John and his grandfather was Alik Kumbar, a Jewish merchant from Istanbul, Turkey. He sent his grandson money and encouraged him to work with Jews in the garment district of NYC, New York City, USA. Nimrod Alexander came to Southern California and encouraged the Jewish clothing barons to come to sunny California and make movies without artificial lights. The first film stages were nothing but four walls with an opening ceiling where sunshine came through without incurring electric bills. Later they placed silk screens to soften the light. Some of the early pioneers of the silent cinema were Charlie Chaplin and Max Sennett. Yeah, the old funny silent movie funnies of the 20s and 30s. Max Sennett was the best because he had like those cross eyes, and he was funnier. I think he was funnier than Charlie Chaplin. Nimrod Alexander encouraged D.W. Griffith to come to Hollywood. One of the greatest film directors, he was to do a film about the sacking of Babylon. It was the first 5-reeler or a 2-hour feature film. All movies were shot on 35mm motion picture film. As the discovery of oil in the Middle East during mid-19th century finally made it possible for automobiles and transportation to become of major importance, and then there were the ships and airplanes that used oil and gasoline. World War I broke out over the oil wealth of the Middle East. At this point, the Ottoman Empire, the Turks, became the target of the Western Allies, the English-speaking people, Great Britain and the United States. Is that all over to do with the oil? Nimrod Alexander had amassed a great deal of wealth from selling movie rights. He had sold RKO Studios to Howard Hughes for $50 million. Wasn't Fay Ray famous for the King Kong movie? And pulled out by or through RKO. And that's probably what influenced New Zealander Peter Jackson. He knew Howard Hughes Sr. also in the drilling gear, which was essential for reaching oil wells deep under the surface. The drill was self-cleaning. At 18, Howard Hughes Sr.'s father passed away and Howard Hughes took over his father's fortune. Brought to you by the Ministry of the Real Truth, and there's our link to our website there. Okay. So we just need Victor N. Alexander to confirm that. That's coming from IMDb. There's a website link there. Okay, Victor N. Alexander's website at va.com went down around 2013 or later. So we found a way to restore it and have made several videos for the Then Clever Sausage channel and the Real Truth TV channel. We changed it. Okay. And now we are the Ministry of the Real Truth. And on the couch with Kuma. It's just a thing, you know, make it more appealing. Okay, we probably put some more comments underneath. There's a lot of people here with the comments, they really appreciate them. One here, wonderful, I really appreciate your insight and effort. He's seeking the truth, lost in translation. Okay, he's trying to get him to understand Genesis 1:31. You mentioned Eon on 6 days. You see the sun and moon, blah blah blah. Please translate that verse. It says in Young's literal translation. Something different. View the reply. Okay, this is us. Kuma on a couch. He translated it as immeasurable period, era, age, day, capital D, according to worldslastchance.org.com. The Hebrew day was very different to the day we have come to know as the day. Remember the verse To God a day is like 1,000 years. There's some more information there. Why would the creator rush it? Why would an artist rush a painting masterpiece? Logically, if you rush something, you make mistakes, mess things up, right? You don't think God would mess things up. Very precise. God said, "Let there be light." He was the light that illuminated the world. Or his son was, if he was the actual creator of all on earth, in the Aramaic, and so forth. Yeah, so you're really well liked, and you were missed when you vanished for a while there, Mr. Vic. But I reassured them, no, he hadn't passed, he just might have had some problems. Okay, so we're going to listen to what he actually sounds like on his video. You actually hear him speaking the language from this Bible format, which is...
Hello, this is Vic Alexander. I've been translating the scriptures for 15 years. I've already completed the New Testament and published it. And now I'm doing the Old Testament commentaries. So today I'm going to start with the book of Genesis, and I'm going to pick on one concept only, and that is the creation of Adam and Eve. So I'm going to read from the Sapragrita, which means the scripture or scroll of creation, which is how we call Genesis. It's also how modern Jews today call the first book of Moses. They call it Brashit. So I begin from Ipariun Allah, chapter 1, verse 1. Brashit bara alaha yachmaya yadara. Barid alaha is also means son of God. And Brashit means at the beginning, before the foundations of the universe. This term I have done a whole tape on just this one word. Brashit encompasses the whole scriptures, because bara is light, bara is sun. Brishit means at the beginning, at the head. It has a lot more meanings. The word just made up two letters, B, Uresh, that is B and R, has vast roots and meanings in the language. So I won't go into that this morning, because I have done it already. I'm just...
Okay, so that's a little snippet of what he actually sounds like and how he speaks the Aramaic dialect. Okay, so we're going to jump to have a look at the ancient Aramaic audio files on his former website, which was down. We revived it. The audio on the Lord's Prayer, etc., etc. Okay, some of them you can hear, some of them you can't for some reason. Okay, there's also videos we'd be interested in, but we can't look at them because the Adobe Flash Player is now defunct. Okay, it's not running anymore. They've cancelled it. There is one add-on called Adobe Flash 21 or something. That's total junk. It doesn't work either because a certain part of it, upgrade or something, is missing. Yeah, it's just total rubbish. Doesn't work. Okay, so that's it all there. Okay, I'm going to jump again to a website that makes claims. Okay, so yeah, Victor, this is Mr. Vic. This is a tribute to you, a way to say thank you. We've tried to get hold of you, but we don't know if you have the right email address, etc. Okay, did we state this? Okay, yeah. Via this video, we're going to talk extensively on he who we refer to with a passion as our mentor, even though he's officially not, but we just refer to him as that. And the video is wholly dedicated to him, who we had the pleasure to correspond with via email over the last 2 years or more. We found you, Vic, to be very honest, kind and patient. when we bombarded you with questions, you were very patient and often had a little chuckle with us, as you once stated, quote, "We find some very unusual information about the Aramaic scriptures online," and he had a little chuckle. We posed him other comments, okay, to the point of being annoying. We realise that because this is what we do with others on our quest to find the real truth, the whole truth, that truth, right? As we dig through the mire of fluff and hype. Okay, we posed him a lot of questions, comments, etc. on him, and he had no resentment towards these others online with the often false assumptions of him and the Aramaic dialects he speaks, saying he doesn't speak it right, as if attended a Bible college institution or university or some seminary, learned the Aramaic, therefore could speak it better than him because they got a pretty degree or they got a pretty certificate. So that makes them more qualified than a fluent native speaker of the Aramaic dialects from Nahrein or Mesopotamia and Syria. It's his language he spoke fluently, the dialect. Right, go figure that one. You can speak better than a fluent speaker. Wow. In Victor's words, he isn't phased as he speaks the language they don't. They speak the Syriac, is what he's saying. They don't speak the dialects that he speaks. They haven't done research and found a method through root words to revive the old dead language, Shana Atika, Sabrea, Kitab Ashurai, and translated those original manuscripts into the nearest English equivalent while staying as close to the original manuscripts, texts, scriptures, and what they are saying when he translated into English. He made it his mission to avoid prejudice, bias, twisting it, adding its own flavour, etc., etc., as he found many other translators have, right? And also found that they used the Syriac and they botched all the translations. Yeah, he was very courageous and brave in the face of adversity. The ridicule and ignorance he got of his film works, especially in regard to the winged bull icons, the history of his native land, the real history of Mesopotamia, when he took those films that he had made to different libraries, film studios, etc., and they says, "Oh, what a load of rubbish." It's all incorrect. But he is a graduate of the San Francisco Film Academy in the USA and had so many years' experience making documentaries, films, and the history about his native land. Okay. As you could see on that other website, he had a lot of loyal fans who asked us where he disappeared to. They thought he passed on, etc. But we assured them that he's probably just having some problems being an elder person. Okay. So these people who are boasting that they know the language better than him, that he can't speak it at all, they've learned the Syriac, not the Ninevite, Aramaic, Galilean, Aramaic, etc., as he does. Here's to you, Mr. Vic. They, as you have stated, have not learned the original, ancient, or very old Galilean Aramaic. They've probably learned a more modern version of it, so they think they're expert in that. Anyway, so we're going to jump again. Actually, we're going to look at this site first before we jump. The Victor Alexander Aramaic Bible, March 26, 2017, so it's quite old. The Passion Translation inserts all kinds of concepts, words and ideas of which the original gives no hint whatsoever. Andrew Wilson. And says Andrew Chapman embarked on his own translation project, investigating Brian Simmons' use of the Aramaic. And sort of verses here. You might like to start simply with this introduction, summary and conclusion. Andrew Chapman's prevailing hypothesis is that the TPT contains words and phrases that are not translated directly from the Peshitta, but are instead drawn from Victor Alexander's Aramaic Bible, an English translation that Brian Simmons mentioned to Chapman. To further complicate the matter, Victor Alexander claims to be using an Aramaic text that is older than the Syriac Peshitta. Quote, this translation has been made from the Lishana Sabrea, the sacred scribal language of the scriptures. This is the only Bible that has been translated from scratch using this language as the source material. And Steve Cariso disputes Victor Alexander's claim and attempts to demonstrate that Alexander is simply using Syriac Aramaic text just like all the other English translations of the Peshitta. Incorrect. Perhaps Victor Alexander can enlighten us. Yeah, he can do that if he chooses to, and we are doing that on his behalf. Okay. I want everyone to understand why the ancient Aramaic language must be treated as a sacred scribal language and not as a spoken language or literary language. He doesn't need to prove that the manuscript he's translated from is the oldest found. Archaeology is not the issue. He didn't need to prove that the manuscript he translated from has been sanctioned by any church. Doctrine is not the issue. He didn't need to prove that the manuscript that he translated from is in the proper dialect. Nationalism is not the issue. The only thing he needed to prove is whether or not the manuscript that he translated from contains the fundamental belief system of the apostles of Eashoa, Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah, the belief system which Eashoa, Jesus the Messiah, taught. This he had done, even if you take just two words, Aliyah and Milta. He has a lot more, and that'd be revealed in subsequent commentaries via his website, etc. As he said, if he were to present archaeological proof, doctrinal ideas, or a chain of authority, it would take him 1,000 years and more books than the whole universe could hold. This is what John was talking about when he concluded his gospel with the following words, John 21:25. But there were also a great many things that Eashoa, or Jesus the Messiah, or Eashoa Mashiach, that if they were written of one by one, Eashoa Mashiach did, that if they were written of one by one, not even the whole universe, he expects would hold them all. Victor Alexander. What does this mean? He doesn't know. But perhaps the following statement by Victor Alexander will clarify the situation. My translation of the scriptures are not just another version of the Bible. My translations are the only authentic translations of the original scriptures. Well, we are backing it up because that's what we, as fanatical readers of his down website, which we found a way to revive, testify to. It remains unclear what manuscripts Victor Alexander is using, but he clearly believes that his translation is superior to all others. He's not saying it's superior in that sense. Maybe, maybe not. He's saying it's more authentic, so therefore it is a better, more true translation of the original scriptures from the original language. If Brian Simmons' entirely new fresh translation from the original Hebrew, Greek and Aramaic documents does borrow from Victor Alexander's exclusively authentic translations of the original scriptures, which translation is the most authentic? The Victor Alexander Bible or the Brian Simmons Bible? Would I go with the Alexander Bible, the Victor Alexander Bible, the Aramaic New Testament, or the Disciples' New Testament? Okay. Because if this guy Brian Simmons' entirely new fresh translation is from the original Hebrew, Greek and Aramaic documents, right, then it would be near exact or the closest or akin to Victor and Alexander's translations of the originals. Okay, but he's probably translating and claiming it's from the original Hebrew when it's not. It's probably from modern Israeli Hebrew, Greek, modern Greek, or a Latinized form of Greek, and Aramaic, i.e. the Syriac documents. Okay, so I go with Victor Alexander's, and here's some notes here. Okay, here is the picture of the Aramaic Bible, Disciples' New Testament, which we actually have. Right. And we read it phonetically exclusively and extensively, and we compare it to the Americanized Bible versions, modern Bible versions. We compare it, and we have found vast differences. And for an example, the other week outside a supermarket here, we were talking with some Christians, and we asked them simply, what did Christ say when he was hanging up on the cross? What was his near final words? What did he utter to God? And they tried to say El, El, or Eloi, Eloi. Okay, they didn't get it right. We let them get away with that. We don't even know it properly. Sorry if we made a mistake here. Something like El, El, Lamana Swiklani. Okay, and they says, well, we say, well, what's that in English? And they says, my God, why for have thou forsaken me, or something like along those lines. She says, well, that's incorrect, because according to this translation here, this one here, from Victor N. Alexander, that's a second and third generation transliteration from the Arabic and Greek, okay, not from the original manuscripts, because wherefore implies something like it's to do with his destiny. Okay, why is he abandoned or left on the cross? Okay, he understood for that destiny, for that purpose, right? To die as the sacrificial lamb for all mankind. Okay, so those who believed in him wouldn't perish or go to oblivion. Shed his blood, died, was resurrected on the third day, and gave all the free gift of salvation, forgiveness, etc., etc., according to the scriptures. Okay, so that's why he was up there. That's why he died. It's prophesied from the original Hebrew. While some people on YouTube, etc., like Dutch Uncle John, they go deep into the pictographs and in Hebrew and say, look, from that very beginning, it was prophesied that Eashoa Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah, Jesus the Christ, would willingly sacrifice himself on a cross for all mankind, and he did so 4,000 to 5,000 years later. And there's several videos of people that show that. It's all related to the pictographs in the ancient, or the original Hebrew. Yeah. So we're going to jump to another website.